Hey Ernie.
Hi Bert.
Hey Ernie, you know that there's a cookie on the table here?
Yeah, I know that.
Hey Ernie, can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Why is there a cookie on the table there?
Oh. You see, I put it there to remind myself.
Oh, to remind yourself of what?
Oh. Of circles, Bert.
Oh really?
Yeah, well the cookie is round just like the circle you see. And so every time I see the cookie, it reminds me of the circle.
Okay, but why do you want to be reminded of a circle?
Well, you see, because circles remind me of squares.
They do, huh?
Sure, and I have to remember about squares, because squares remind me of my checkerboard.
Oh.
You see, because the checkerboard is square, and it's also made up of a whole lot of little bitty squares.
Oh, I think I'm beginning to understand. This cookie is on the table to remind you of circles, which remind you of squares, which remind you of the checkerboard.
Right.
And you wanna play checkers.
Wrong.
Wait, what?
No, I wanna remember about the checkerboard because that reminds me of games.
Yeah?
And games remind me that I have to put on my football helmet.
Ugh, not again. I knew I shouldn't ask this, Ernie. Why do you want to put on your football helmet?
Oh, that's obvious, Bert. You see, my football helmet reminds me of music.
Why is that? I ask foolishly.
Well, because there's always music playing at football games, you know, bands playing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I wanna remember about music, because that reminds me of bells.
Oh, sure, of course it does.
Yeah, and bells remind me that I gotta turn on my alarm clock.
Your alarm clock. Hey Ernie, would you turn off that alarm clock please?
Oh sure, Bert.
Okay, now, let me see if I got this straight.
Sure.
Now, this cookie here on the table is to remind you of circles, which remind you of squares, which remind you of checkerboards, which remind you of games, which remind you of a football helmet, which reminds you of music, which reminds you of bells, which reminds you of your alarm clock ringing. Right?
Exactly.
Ernie, why do you want your alarm clock to ring?
Well, because you see, when my alarm clock rings, that reminds me that it's time to eat my cookie.